Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the vegetable garden in its current state. I am going to ask your forgiveness and your pardon. My garden is not how I would like it to be. I've got weeds, it needs to be mowed, but as I've explained in a previous video, I hurt my knee, and so therefore I can't get in here and get the mower going or the weed eater, so excuse it. It still looks good, it's just not as good as it normally would. So without further ado, let me show you what's going on in the garden at this time. I want to show you first, I've set up the arbor with some chicken wire to capture these rose bushes because they were becoming a hazard. See all those buds? These things are covered. And then here's the other side. What was happening is each time I would go in the garden, the rose bush would snag my clothes and I would get caught. So we're going to start on this side. When you come into the garden, there's a cattle panel arch that's 3 panels long. Last year I grew tomatoes on them. This year I'm growing beans. This is the asparagus bed. We've already been harvesting asparagus and I think we're done for the season. The spares are now smaller than I like to harvest, so I'm just letting it go to seed. This is the younger portion of the bed. These are more established crowns. I sowed seeds 2 years ago, so next year we should be able to start harvesting. Over here, we have a bed of collard greens. Now, let me tell you, normally I don't sow my collard greens this thickly, and I have given away bunches out of this bed. But what happened is I purchased seeds from the co-op because in the past the seeds that I had just weren't as good. Well, let me just tell you that every last one of them seeds that I sprinkled grew. And so now we have quite a thick, lush patch of collard greens. I like to cook them young, so this is not a problem for me. This bed, I sowed celery, but looks like my seeds were old. And I also did some other kale. These are borage that volunteered and came back from last year. I'm going to transplant them into different beds, and these are snapdragons. This is some horseradish that will be harvested later this garden season, and I'll probably make a horseradish butter. And then this is curly kale and garlic. I think this is music garlic. Red Russian kale and more curly kale. Over here, I have a Miss Figgy fig tree. It is a hardy fig tree in my zone, and it only gets to be about max 3 feet tall, and the figs are very sweet. These are turnip greens, growing them just for the greens and the occasional turnip. Planted some tomatoes along this trellis. And then these are Swiss chard with some pansies and some snapdragons. Sowed some more Swiss chard, and those are coming up and doing okay. These are the bright lights, Swiss chard. More snapdragons, and these are onions. I got red, white, and yellow onions in here. I got these planted a little late, but even if it's just the greens, I'm going to be happy with them. 3 more tomato plants here, 3 more tomato plants there. I also did some potatoes in some berm style beds. More potatoes and weeds that I pulled. I also have some more potatoes in these grow bags, and that grow bags is empty. I just buried these potatoes today They already have little sprouts. I want them to produce slips for me to grow. They are a Japanese type sweet potato. In this raised bed, I have peas. You can see I have loads of blooms. And we got the peas, as well as some carrots. I planted one determinate tomato that will be trellised on this trellis. I'm excited that we have this trellis. Last year I didn't, and I had a hard time corralling my tomatoes. So yes, last year I had just a tomato cage and it did not work, and I knew better. But I went ahead in the fall and added this hog panel trellis, cut a hog panel in two, and it made two trellises. So I've got one determinate tomato here and two in this bed. This bed has some basil, some more peas, some carrots, and I also have broccoli on the other side. More peas. Don't they look good? Pardon the mess. Over there, I have lettuce and more garlic. You'll see that I have a lot of garlic. My goal is to eventually sell the garlic that I have. I have a lot of heirloom garlic, and that garlic, this is lettuce, this is arugula, and that's a lettuce mix. My goal is to eventually sell the garlic and use that to invest back in my garden. Here we are. This is a Savoy cabbage. And there's another one there. More garlic. This is my heirloom garlic here. I'm going to come back to this area. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see this. These are my strawberry beds. And I had to get the strawberries up off the ground because the slugs, birds, and squirrels were killing me. So I'm trying out this whole netting thing. And I posted a short on YouTube and a reel on Instagram on it. So if you wanted to check that out, I need to still attach the last of the netting, but it was raining today. More garlic. And then I've planted my pepper plants. I have 22 pepper plants at the moment, and they look pitiful because I was hurt for 3 weeks before I could get them in the ground, so they've lived through a lot. More potatoes and more peppers. And you can see loads and loads and loads of peas coming. This is my garlic bed. You can see that it's producing scapes. I'm going to harvest those and make a nice dish with those. More pepper plants and more peas. This bed over here is got cabbage as well as green onions, scallions, as well as some Egyptian walking onions, which is what these are. I've got 3 clumps of those. This is a woodland phlox, different dianthuses, monarda, gladiolas. I've started digging out some of the flowers in this bed to move elsewhere. This is more garlic. This is catnip. I've got tomato plants against the trellis here. So I've moved my tomatoes here this year. Last year I grew nothing on this trellis, so I'm trying to rotate my crops. This is catnip. This is rudbeckia, and that's some more monarda. This is the first batch of lemongrass that I grew. That's some collards that I'm letting go to seed. These are Brussels sprouts and onions. And you can see that onion looks like it's just about ready to be harvested. More garlic and more cabbage in this bed with some snapdragons, dianthus, and pansies. I've got one grapevine here, one grapevine there, and then 3 more along these fence. I'm going to trellis them on the fence. More broccoli, and then more tomatoes along this side. I've got a couple things in the green stalk. Let me show you. I need to plant it up for the season. Usually like to grow bok choy and some greens. I think these are so pretty. This is red giant mustard. So that's what that is. And then here's a couple more coming forward. So I used to have mango trees, avocado trees, and with the polar vortex, they died. And some of my citrus trees took a hit also. This used to be my sugar cane, so I'm going to replace it with sugar cane that I'm currently have sprouting. These are pomegranates. That's a Meyer lemon. That's a Persian lime, another pomegranate, another Meyer lemon, Calamandan, Buddha hand, and then a Ponderosa lemon. This is a hardy tangerine in this pot. I need to repot it. You can see that. It's on the list of things to do. And then lastly, for the tour of the garden, we'll take a look at the herbs. I had to replace my rosemary, my mint. I have 5 different types of mint in here, but I had to replace my more rosemary because it died during the polar vortex. This is lemon balm that I just transplanted from the orchard here. We have several clumps in the orchard, and I wanted it here because I love it for tea. I have some more chives. This is onion and garlic chives, and I sprinkled some seeds in here, and you can see the little green wisps. The other stuff's weeds that I got to pull. This has cilantro and more chives because it's seeds got sprinkled here. This is oregano, parsley with some parsley seeds. You can see them sprouting. Plant loads of parsley every year for the caterpillars. This is sage. And this is regular basil and lemon basil. More basil seeds that were sown that are sprouting. And then this is usually where I have my thyme. I've not started any from seed, so I may need to purchase some and then add some seeds to this tire. That concludes our tour of the garden so far this season. As you can tell, there's not a lot going on. There's some things going on, but there's not as much as will be as the season progresses. So I ask you to tune in each month as I share the status of the vegetable garden. I have some things that I will be adding later in the season, as well as in the next couple of weeks. So the next time we take a tour, it'll look dramatically different. You'll see a lot more growth on the tomatoes and peppers. The peas probably will have been removed, and I will have cucumbers and squash and all of that stuff going as well. So if you've enjoyed this tour or any of the content that I share, you may want to consider subscribing. Until next time, happy gardening.